Hello everybody, welcome back to the Blind Press YouTube and Twitch channels. We are here and it is Friday and it is bloody cold outside. This is why I'm still wearing a hoodie, because Jesus Christ, it's like freaking negative 12 Celsius. It's blah. It is not nice for March. But oh well, that's just how it is. Anyway, we're here today. We've got a couple of different things to talk about. We definitely have Can Poly stuff to go over, of course. But we also have just some fun reaction content as well to go over. So we're going to split the stream kind of into two parts, and we're going to have a good time. We did not have... The confidence vote did not pass. I'm not surprised. It was more probably like a temperature gauge to see how many of the Bloc Québécois would go and vote no confidence. And I'm going to bring this up again when it comes to the Can Poly section of the stream. But it was... we're going to have another confidence vote in like 3 weeks when it comes to the budget anyway. And I bet you there's going to be a bunch of stuff that the Bloc Québécois is not going to like in that budget. So I don't think we're hopeless yet. I know a lot of people probably aren't going to have any faith in the system for this, but I think we need to keep ourselves going and keep focused on the important things, which is we actually have a party that is trying to help us. So, and like I said, I will be talking more about this when it comes to the Can Poly portion of the stream. But right now, oh my goodness, my stupid throat is all weird. I don't understand. Right now, we are going to venture into a video from Ava and Preach. Now, I don't watch much of Ava and Preach. I obviously know who they are because of watching Destiny and a few other streamers. I know who they are. I've watched their stuff, but you know, they sometimes they rub me the wrong way. I will be fully honest about that. Sometimes they do rub me the wrong way. But we are here to watch this video. It's called "He Was Cancelled for all the Wrong Reasons." Tickelgate. Now, what the hell is a Tickelgate, and why is this all the way at 7 minutes? That's stupid. I hadn't even started watching it yet and it jumped 7 minutes ahead. That's not helpful. Okay, we're back to where we need to be. We are perfectly in sync. Okay. So, this is apparently we're going to be reacting to Abba and Preach reacting to a story from some chick. It's always some chick.
Okay, so this story has to be one of the dumbest, most terminally online thing. What? I honestly think young people's brains are rotted when it comes to all topics of consent. Okay. So this involves two Twitch streamers. Okay.
Of course it did.
Very, very strong allegations.
Two Twitch streamers. Okay.
Last year, at the beginning of summer, by a significantly older and popular content creator.
Oh my god, she is reading. Holy shit. Pinkala was listening to this video before I went live. And he was like, she's reading from something that she wrote down. She totally is. Holy fuck.
I was freshly 18.
Freshly 18. What does that mean?
And popular content creator. I was freshly 18 and had just graduated high school a few weeks prior.
Who talks like this? Nobody talks, especially if you're 19 years old. You don't talk like a few weeks prior. I had just graduated a few weeks prior. That's not how... No.
Freshly 18 is a wild line, is it not?
It's like, I was like, freshly 18. That's what I see. You coming out of a cabbage patch, my dog. It is weird.
But it's weird to describe yourself as freshly 18.
It is.
Like, normal people say, I just turned 18. He said
Freshly 18.
But let's keep watching.
Oh, creative writing.
Right?
18
Thank you.
and had just
Creative
graduated
writing.
high school a few weeks prior. I was drunk in a hotel room with other people around me when it happened.
You were drunk in a hotel room with other people around you when it happened. So a whole bunch of people watched you get assaulted? Oh, that's... And they didn't do anything? They just sat there and watched it happen? Well, that is interesting. When you let ChatGPT write your rape story, this is what you get. Yeah, especially because you can tell ChatGPT to write it in a certain style. So, like, she forgot to tell ChatGPT to write it as though... Write me a rape story as though I were a teenage girl. She didn't say that. She just said, write me a rape story. So, it did.
He was someone I had once watched, and he was 8 years older than me, and far more powerful.
He is far more powerful than she could possibly imagine. I'm sorry, I had to. Oh my god, the fake crying! Holy shit, the fake crying! Are there even tears? Did she have to did she have to snort something to make herself sniffle like that?
I'm so proud of you and your bravery.
Oh my. Are we
Sorry.
Sorry,
Someone donated to say that shit with a robot. I'm so proud of you and your bravery.
No, this.
Okay, I'm sorry. Let me just keep watching.
No.
Did somebody... did that actually happen?
Sorry.
I'm so proud of you and your bravery.
Oh, notice how she was able to calm down and stop crying and sobbing so she could hear the TTS? Did you notice that? That was very interesting.
Sorry. Sorry, someone donated to say that shit with a robot. I'm so proud of you and your bravery.
No, this.
Okay, I'm sorry. Let me just keep watching.
No.
The full story is quite short. It was at a convention in a hotel room. It was my first convention.
Already
I
this
was
sounds
invited
like some Eugene Carroll level of bullshit.
to,
It does.
So I stuck by one of my best friends the entire time. I was nervous but excited about it all and felt really grown up.
I felt really grown up. I was nervous and excited about it all, but I felt really grown up. Like, what the hell kind of investigation discovery level writing is this shit? Holy fuck.
One night, we were at a house party when we decided to leave. It was me, my best friend, and her other friend. This other friend was romantically talking to a really big creator at the time. He was also the best friend of my soon-to-be assaulter. She wanted to go back to his hotel room, but didn't want to go alone, so we went with her. I didn't really mind, as I was up for anything.
You were up for anything, huh? Well, that's interesting. You were up for anything, you say.
It was the creator, the girl was talking to, and his best friend. The two of them and the three of us. Not much happened that first night, just some drinking and talking at a table. The guy's friend had been passing flirts at me the entire night, but because he was the oldest in the room, we assumed he didn't know my age. Later that night, when I left, I received Instagram
Why is
DMs
she
from him.
pausing, like, Why is she pausing so long other than I need to make sure I've found my place in my script?
And in my Instagram bio, in bold, was my age, 18, confirming he knew how old I was. A few days passed when I found myself in the same situation. Us three were at a party when it got boring, and whether the girl wanted to leave and go to his room, or he asked us to, I cannot remember. Once again, I
love how she's got to keep sniffling. She's got to keep sniffling while she's reading these. I had to go. The party got boring. I was in a similar situation
before and was willing to go anywhere. I was naive, and so we went back.
I was naive, so we went back.
In the lobby.
Oh,
on
please.
The way. They were worried by the way I was acting and asked if I was okay. I was really drunk, and it was an eerie feeling, like they could sense something was wrong. And I wondered what would have happened if I had picked up on it. And if I wasn't drunk, and if I didn't wave it off. But I don't want to dwell on the what-ifs. That night, I went up to his room. Back at the hotel room again were the two friends and us three girls.
Back at the hotel room again? What the fuck kind of teenage writing? This is horrible. Back at the hotel room again. What, are you writing a script? I'm seriously getting flashbacks to high school, and we would all sit around and everyone would read a passage. That's what I'm getting. That's what this is. Yes! Yes, this is like that. Do you remember the writing club I used to go to? That's what this is. This is, you're sitting around reading the, yeah. This is crazy.
At the time, all of us girls were already really drunk from the party we
Yeah,
were
you already
from,
said that. You
stumbling
were
and
really,
everything.
really drunk.
There was more alcohol in the room, and we were encouraged to drink some more as they offered the bottles to us. They said they would join us in drinking, and insisted on drinking games, and, already drunk, I obviously complied.
Oh, you complied. Like you were forced. I love how she used that word. I obviously complied because I was already drunk. So I was... No, I was already drunk, so I wanted to, and I kept drinking.
We sat on the couch and answered questions about each other, drinking a bunch.
You mean truth or dare?
Sat right next to me while playing. I confused my nerves for excitement, as I had never been around such a big creator before.
Ooh, a big
I remember
creator.
getting drunker and drunker and really tired around this time. It was about 3 a.m. Right before the incident, I had answered a question about my age. We were playing a drinking game and talking about sex. And I admitted
You were playing truth or dare. Just say it. Just fucking say it. You were playing drunk truth or dare. Why do you have to be so fucking... We were playing a drinking game and talking about sex and answering questions about ourselves. You were playing truth or dare. Just fucking admit it. Holy fuck. You're 18, why are you really, really drunk in a hotel? That's a very good question. This is, yeah. This is LiveJournal personified. Yes! It is. Holy shit. This is insane.
everyone in the room that I was 18 and that I was a virgin at the time. I remember back now to him answering questions during the game about back when he was 19 and when he was in college, noticing how my future was his past, and I wondered how he felt sitting so close to me.
Yeah, you don't even believe this shit. Listen to that.
19, and when he was in college, noticing how my future was his past, and I wondered how he felt sitting so close to me.
Excuse me, let me turn the page. I have to turn the page now.
It was a little after that, when I resorted to playing games on my phone when it happened.
You resorted to playing games on your phone. What? 'Cause... Okay.
Out of nowhere, I felt him slip his hand under my clothes, sitting next to me on the couch in front of everyone. He disguised it with a simple, "Are you ticklish?" I coughed out a no, still staring at my phone.
You coughed out a no? What does that say? You coughed out a no. This is totally written by ChatGPT. Holy shit. I bet you if I asked it to write me a story right now about something like this, it would write something similar. This is insane. It might have been never have I ever. Or that, yeah. To be honest, it sounds more like never have I ever. Okay, yeah, that maybe. That, yeah, you're probably right. Never have I ever. But still, like, why can't she just say it? Why does she have to be like, we were playing a drinking game and answering questions about ourselves and talking about sex? Like, it sounds a lot worse when you say it like that instead of saying, we were playing Never Have I Ever and taking shots. Do you know what I mean? Like,
I was overly aware of the fact that we were in front of other people. The fact that everyone else was sitting around us, watching us, including my best friend, and that his hand was inching further to places I hadn't asked for it to be. He made a game out of my embarrassment where he would touch me in certain areas to make me lose the phone game I was playing.
Oh, he was doing, okay. He was trying to make you lose by turning you on. Okay.
Scared, and I felt sick, either from the alcohol or from his touch. It didn't matter because my mind was a blur. I didn't speak or move.
I love how she just, like, makes herself start to almost cry, and then she goes, and then she starts reading robotically again.
I remember being afraid to even breathe. I stayed there for a while, hoping my stillness could make me disappear. I eventually had to stand up after many minutes for it to stop.
After many minutes? These aren't even crying voice modulations. What the fuck?
Minutes make me disappear. I eventually had to stand up after many minutes for it to stop.
See? That's not a voice. That is not how the voice modulates when you cry. That is, I need to sound like I'm crying. How does that sound again?
I was scared to leave or make a scene out of the embarrassment. Eventually, later in the night, I found myself alone with him and his friend. Everyone else either passed out or sick. I dread the scenarios that could have played out that night. The what ifs.
But it didn't happen.
So
nothing happened.
And lucky or not, the night came to an end with just that. The night lasted until 6 a.m. I was still drunk, either from alcohol or tiredness.
Either from alcohol or tiredness. Oh my. I love how you're trying to minimize how drunk you got. Like it's somehow gonna make it better. Like, why do your parents let you go to this convention at 18?
I went to leave, and the older guy decided to leave with me. We walked to the elevators, where I didn't get on.
Why?
He then pretended that the elevator was broken, and that he couldn't leave, telling me to get in the elevator to prove it was broken. And then after a few minutes, he ended the night with a, "Guess I'm going now," leaving with a wounded puppy look. He proceeded to Instagram message me for a bit after that. Simple flirting or asking about the next convention I was going to.
Why are your parents letting you go to conventions by yourself like this? What the fuck? Why are parents so stupid? Sure, I'll let my 18-year-old go to a social media convention. That sounds like it'll be fine.
Saying stuff about seeing me there. Simple messages ultimately filtered into nothing. At the time of it all, I convinced myself I was lucky. I was lucky that that had happened to me. I was excited to be around such big creators, to be at that convention in general. I figured that's just how things were, that was the price I had to pay to be there, that anyone would have loved to be in my position, and that I should have appreciated it.
Okay. I'm still not believing the crying.
It was a first. That night, it was the first time anyone had ever touched me.
Okay, these are such bad fake tears. And you're trying to tell me that at 18 years old that nobody's kissed you, hugged you, touched, you've never been felt up by now? Nothing?
I assured myself that I was just being sensitive about it all, that it wasn't a big deal. But assuring only can go so far. I felt dirty in a way that I couldn't wash off.
So he's slipping my hands down her pants.
No.
No, he did.
No, he didn't.
So he touched her boob.
No.
Abba, this is not me being insensitive. Okay, this is me not being the smartest guy.
Okay.
You understand what I'm saying? I'm slow. So, where did she get touched?
You need context. So.
He needs context. Yes, we all need context. Give us the context, Abba. Give it to us. What's the context of this ridiculous story with the fake tears?
Yes, the context is very important. But
okay, so
I
just
thought
a
I
couple
had
points
context.
to know. Nobody knew that she was 18 because she had a 21 wristband because this event was 21 plus. That's why she was allowed to
Oh, shit.
So this is his response.
Context to this scenario and to why I didn't know her age. My perspective of things is that I am with people that are over the age of 21.
Okay, so this is his side. They have both sides to this. This is good. This is good. Having both sides is a good thing.
In a scenario where we are doing things that people that are over the age of 21 are doing, like drinking.
Yeah.
And also the people that came from an event where they had very heavy security. This was an official VidCon after party. And with previous VidCon after parties, I even had problems getting into these events. I've gone back and reviewed texts from the time. And there was actually a picture where it was shown that they had this 21 plus wristband on one of their
So she lied. She lied to get into the VidCon after party. She had a 21 plus wristband on, which is why she was able to drink. Which is, I love how she was just glossing over how she was just, I was just at this convention drinking. She didn't... I love how she glossed over that she was even able to procure alcohol at 18 years old. But let's just keep listening.
One of their wrists. So from my perspective, it's a bunch of 21 plus year olds hanging out. And I have no reason to think otherwise. Other than her Instagram bio, but I just didn't see it. Next she says, this is a quote, resorted to playing games on her phone to avoid the awkward situation. Now, I just don't see how this is the case. She's implying that she is using her phone to essentially escape, such an awkward scenario that she's in. But that's just not how it happened. And this is why. She brought up the phone game as kind of a point. The game was honestly the central point of the interaction at this part of the night.
Okay, so she brought up the phone game. So this is something that she did. Okay.
It was a very social thing. She was passing the phone around. We were all playing the game and bantering about it, just having fun with the game. So I don't see how she resorted to it and was like using it in that context.
So they were all playing this phone game. It wasn't her burying herself into this game. This was everybody playing this game together.
She wasn't being awkward at all. There was no sense of uncomfortability from her. She was laughing and playing with everyone. And yeah, I'm not really sure why she phrased it like this. We actually continued to send each other high score updates even weeks after the event. To add further context to this moment, we were all actually sitting on the couch that was in the hotel room playing this game on her phone. They had already been drinking before they arrived. They were drunk, and the way this is phrased, it makes us out to look like we're kind of preying on them.
Yeah.
And like forcing them to drink when they didn't want to. When that's not the case, and as I mentioned earlier, they were even the ones asking to play the drinking games via the texts.
Okay, so they wanted to play drinking games. They were already drunk. They had 21 plus wristbands. There are so many things here that cover this guy. It's not even funny.
Before they had even arrived. So then, this is when her most important claim happens. I'm just going to read the quote. She says, "Out of nowhere, I felt him slip his hand under my clothes, sitting next to me on the couch, in front of everyone. He disguised it with a simple, 'Are you ticklish?' I coughed out a no, and still staring at my phone, I was overly aware of the fact that we were in front of other people. The fact that everyone else was sitting around us, watching us, including my best friend, and that his hand was inching further to places I hadn't asked it to be. Again, as I mentioned before, we had previously been cuddling on this couch for around an hour, but I did place my hand on her waist under her shirt. The way it's phrased makes it sound like it just happened out of nowhere, when in reality we'd been cuddling for over an hour at this point.
So he
and it
put
was
his
not out of
hand
nowhere.
he put his hand on her waist under her shirt. Ooh. Big deal. Holy shit.
So they were cuddling, and then he tickled her stomach. And that's what all that's what all this is about.
This is fucking stupid.
We're cuddling.
They were cuddling and he tickled her stomach. And she's acting like he raped
I
her.
couldn't believe it. I had to go back and reread that shit 5 times. Like, wait, he touched her titty, right? Gucci, Gucci, go! You know that Pillsbury? No.
Woohoo! Yeah.
Yeah! That's what it's about. And you know what they're saying? Cuddling doesn't mean you have the right to touch her stuff.
What the fuck? So what are you supposed to do? Cuddle with your hands behind your back? Just lay on each other like a couple of cordwood dead bodies? Just, nope, no touching. Our bodies can touch, but our hands must remain completely away from each other. No touching.
Yeah! That's what it's about. And you know what they're saying? Cuddling doesn't mean you have the right to touch her stuff. Hey, yo, didn't I tell you this is one of the dumbest?
This is
Didn't I tell
so
you this is one of the
stupid.
dumbest things I've ever heard?
So what's happening now?
They canceled this dude. He got pulled from a bunch
What?
of advertisement, everything.
Seriously?
If a dude did it, he did it. Make him pay. That's fine. He tickled her stomach. I don't give a fuck. I'm 18. You had an over 21 bracelet. Ma, he didn't know that you just pretending like he knew and you're framing it this way. But
Again,
This
maybe
isn't-
that's super
But we
weird.
don't even have to go there.
He didn't do anything. He literally tickled her stomach. And now he's got no fucking ad sponsors? Nothing? What the
Because
fuck?
he didn't know her age, 1. And 2, when he found out her age, he was like, no, thank you.
Yeah.
That's why they texted for a while. Remember she said that?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And one of the reasons they stopped texting?
I just realized. You know what fucked me up?
Vas-y.
When she was talking, and now I'm pissed now. Now I'm pissed. I just realized why I thought I was slow. Okay? Because when she was talking, she was like, I'm freshly 18. And and we spoke, and I was a virgin at the time. That's what fucked me up. Because now you're putting this unnecessary information in the story that you were virgin and at the time, and the way you're framing this, my mind went 2 steps further. And I was like, oh shit.
Yep. She did that on purpose. She did that on purpose because she wanted as much attention as she could get.
Happen. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Yo, I'm in Majora got perforated, but no, the way you is the frame up.
Why mention it though? Because he don't know that. How would he know any of these details that you've never?
He wouldn't,
bro.
It's so dumb.
Half an hour until I started moving my hand further up, and the way it's phrased just makes it seem like it happened pretty instantly and pretty quickly. There was nothing quick about it. It was very slow, and I was very cautious about it and making sure that she was comfortable throughout the process. Me and Katie were very touchy, very cuddly, and very slowly got more intimate. I've always been overly cautious with consent, and this is not just because I'm a creator. I've been like this since before I was a creator, and I think that's just the way I am and just the way it should be. Nothing came out of nowhere. Everything progressed very slowly throughout the night. And also, before I continue, I want to make it clear that the furthest anything ever got was under the shirt touching and cuddling. Now, obviously, people don't typically ask if everything is okay, even
not under the shirt, touching and cuddling.
Do it. But in this case, I was extremely slow. And
I'm sorry.
I'm gonna tell you this. All right. Stack your money up. Get an ex-worker, okay, and ask for the GE. GE is the girlfriend experience.
I don't think that. I just think these people are just too online. They're too online.
Yeah, they are. They're way too online. They're always looking for that attention grab. They're always looking for that, you know, this is pathetic. Whatever happened to tickle me again and I'll punch you in the front. But this is insane. This is like way terminally online. I need my clout.
Too online brain, and so that's why they talk like this. And they go on Twitter and they make this big thing, and then you get all this support. But in real life, you tell the story to most people, they'll be like, "So he touched her stomach?"
No, it's because I'm old, bro. I think it's really because I'm old.
I don't think so. It's not an old thing.
You don't think so?
I think this is just people who are too online.
But it's a lot of people that is too online. If it's a lot of people that is too online, it becomes the norm because a lot of people too online get him canceled. It becomes the norm. It means that it's a thing. It matters to that many people. You understand? Yep. It means that I'm the one that is out of date. I'm gonna take me out of the equation. All right. And as if I raise a son, I'm gonna be like, hey, you know what?
Your job is biasing you because you're always watching stories that are online. You're convinced this is bigger than it actually is.
Yep. He's right. He's right because most people would be like, wait a minute. But most people would be like, so he touched your stomach. Or they'd be like, wait a minute, you're 18 at a convention in the States where there's alcohol. How did you get in there? You know what I mean? Like, most people who don't live online and don't surround themselves with these stories don't think that way. With his thumb. Let's see here.
No, I'm not basing it on the fact that I'm looking at stories online. You watch stories online. I live out there. But if this dude gets canceled,
but he's also in the online world.
Sure.
If you start seeing it in everyday life, where someone touched somebody, then we can have a conversation.
It's just
most people in real life are gonna look at this and be like,
again, it's a very fucking sketchy line where. Like, I do not want people. It's crazy because then people that are really something happened, they're gonna have a fear that I'm not gonna talk because people are gonna laugh at me. People are gonna diminish what I'm saying and this and that. It's just that
you're cuddling with someone for an hour and they touch your waist. I don't give a fuck. Actually, don't give a shit. Nothing happened to you. You're not a victim. You're actually somebody who's fucking nefarious for trying to turn this into a bigger story than what it is. just because you drink doesn't mean you're not accountable for the things that happen. Sorry.
Yep.
If you were to drink and drive, we would say you're accountable. If you want to drink and cuddle with a dude, don't be like, I've been so drunk. Shut up. Stop that shit. Unless you stumbling and falling
Absolutely.
over, don't.
You don't get to
And also,
have it both ways.
This is why I don't.
You don't get to be like, I was drunk and I don't know what I was doing. No, yeah.
I'm saying about this whole like, oh, I was a bit drunk or whatever. Okay, cool. Fine. He also drinks too. What happens then? Can anybody consent to anything? Can anybody even have a conversation?
No, he has power. Nah, this...
Like, I hate the fact that people will consciously drink. Then immediately when accountability starts to come in through the window, they'll be like, shut
But
it down.
I was drunk. Yeah, they'll make the choice to get blathering fucking blackout drunk. But then when the next day comes along and someone was like, hey, you fucking asshole, well, you were drunk last night. You tore up my fucking shit. And you wrecked a whole bunch of shit and I don't want to be your friend anymore. Oh, but I was drunk. So? You chose to get that drunk. Fucking deal with the consequences.
No. I don't buy that. If you can't drink, don't drink.
Mm-hmm.
Don't try to do adult things, and then when you have to do adult responsibilities, then you back out. Sorry. No.
Stream, it was after she'd already streamed it, but not long after, so people hadn't yet made the connection that it was relating to me. And when watching it, I was like, I was actually interested. I was thinking, okay, what's this gonna be about? And then when she started saying more and more details, I realized, wait, this is about me.
Right.
I was very confused, very shocked, and didn't quite know what to think, given
I bet.
I had no impression of any wrongdoing throughout this whole relationship that I had.
Could you imagine if that was how he found out she was 18? By watching this video or this stream that she put out? Could you imagine that's how he finds out she's 18?
Not at all. Like, it was, if anything, it was the opposite. I thought we had a pretty good relationship, despite the fact that we actually hadn't talked in a while. I thought if I had seen her in real life again, everything would be fine and we would be friends. It was actually around this point, after VidCon had finished and we were messaging, that I found out her age. And since then, I never pursued anything going forward, and I essentially stopped messaging her. Her last message to me was August 1st, 2023, and I haven't replied to her since then. After I watched her stream, I was pretty confused.
I bet you were.
He apologized for everything.
No, never do that.
Was coming down on him so hard. He's like, I'm sorry.
Never apologize,
blah, blah, blah,
dude.
Listen, I'm telling you, these kids are so online brained. They're learning consent from sources that aren't reasonable about consent.
Yeah, no, they are. They're learning about consent from dumbasses who think it's normal to ask a baby if it's okay before you change their fucking poopy diaper. Ugh.
They think that if you're cuddling with someone, it's not a reasonable escalation to touch their stomach, and if you do, you're some kind of predator. I saw one dude fucking lose his mind. One of the funniest videos you're ever... Listen, watch this shit, bro. You need to actually see this, because this doesn't even look real.
Like, Katie's mind changed. Somebody changed Katie's mind after the fucking to make them look bad. I was there 3 weeks after Katie was assaulted by George Founder, 4 fucking weeks or whatever.
Jesus.
And she cried in my fucking arms. This 19-year-old girl, 18-year-old girl. She cried.
Why is he adding an A to the end of his sentence? She cried in my fucking arms.
In my fucking arms because of what you did, George Founder. I'm serious. I'm fucking serious. No one had changed her mind. No one.
No one. Mind. What the fuck?
This was a fucking horrible thing to have happened to her, and to try and use me, my friends, or anybody else as a scapegoat for your fucking sexual abuse is disgusting. It's fucking disgusting. Okay, my friend cried in my fucking arms about this, and you're on stream denying it all.
Why does every sentence have an A at the end? And why is he... like his voice is cracking like he's still in puberty. I'm confused.
Denying the fucking harm that you caused to her. You are disgusting fucking people. You and all of your abuse sympathizer friends. You are all fucking horrible. Seriously.
Alright, go ahead.
Jesus Christ.
I'm sorry. That one got me.
I was just looking at pearls.
So, thoughts?
No, I ain't got no thoughts. He's just mad. He's just mad. Why is it so happy?
It's just like if people are this upset over some girl's
Stomach being touched. This is crazy.
You're cuddling with a dude. You're consenting to the cuddles. You admit so yourself. Everyone's in the room. It's happening in front of 5-6 other people. He touched your stomach and you do all this? Oh, hell no.
No.
You guys want to do adults. You drinking, partying, hotel rooms, all this stuff, flirting with people, but you can't
You
say
can get
no
your
to,
stomach.
I don't want you
You
to
can't
touch my
get your
stomach.
stomach touched.
Jesus.
Can't have your
I'm
stomach
sorry.
touched.
Stay the fuck home.
Why
Yep.
you say sorry to Jesus?
Because he created this, and I'm sure even he's disappointed. That is disgustingly infantile.
It is.
Like, these are some of the softest people. She out here crying because her stomach got touched.
She's not even crying. She's not even really crying. She's fake crying.
Yo, I don't care, man. And look how big the... I felt dirty to... Holy shit. And look...
Let's all
if
be
I'm
honest,
being
it's
as
a lot
generous
better
and
than
as
finding out
empathetic
she's
as I can
17.
be,
That's
I can
true.
imagine that for someone who's never been into anybody in their whole life, being touched that way maybe felt more important and powerful to you than anything else, right? I could imagine that the first time a girl sat on my knee, that was the craziest thing in the world for me, okay? When I was 13. You're an 18-year-old who apparently never been touched on her stomach? Okay,
I don't believe
maybe
that.
that's the case. You have to understand that's not a reasonable thing for you to project on everyone else. Not everyone else is gonna think, oh, touching a stomach is some sacred fucking thing.
Yeah.
Especially when you're cuddling with them. Like, you have to understand how you...
Yeah, if you're drunk and you're cuddling up and you're like, oh, flirty, and like, you can't get pissed off if someone touches your fucking stomach.
yourself send very mixed signals when you position yourself literally next to somebody on the couch where you're full body connecting.
Yep.
And then at the same time, be shocked when a hand goes on the stomach. You're not being a reasonable person in that moment.
No.
So, you feel bad? That's okay.
Bruh.
That's okay, you feel bad. But just because you feel bad, here's it is. Just because you feel bad doesn't mean someone did something bad to you. And just because you felt violated doesn't mean someone violated you.
Yeah.
You just need some therapy.
Feeling violated doesn't mean that you have been violated.
How can you have the recollection of all these feelings that happened and how you felt, but everything was blurry at the same time because of alcohol?
Yeah, thank you. Thank you. How can you have such clarity of memory and thought and feeling, and yet you were so drunk. You were so drunk you don't know what was going on.
How? How can you be blurry and exact at the same time? You
Magic.
can recollect everything that happened and how? No.
I'm blurry and you're clear.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. I like what the fuck you did there. But how can you do that? You felt every second, minute, every step you take, but you were so nah.
Why does every sentence sound like a squeak at the end? Because he's got this weird A thing going on.
Release.
So that's what a stupid child. What a stupid child. Like, I'm gonna go pretend to be 21 and go get drunk at a convention. But oh God, somebody touched my stomach. Help! Help! I've been so assaulted. Oh my God. It's baffling to me. It's just baffling to me. I don't understand. Oh, I think I can finally take off my hoodie. Okay. But yeah, I that fake crying, that was so ridiculous. The way that she was talking, like, nobody sounds like that when they cry. I'm sorry, honey. Only when you're fake crying. That's about it. She was even worse than Amber Heard with that fake crying. That was bad. That was very bad. Well, speaking of very bad, apparently, according to this article, as we have now come to the Can Polly section of the stream, this is an article by Joe Warmington. Mounties fear angry Canadians will rebel against the federal government. But a secret RCMP report offers no evidence to support the notion that citizens are ready to stage an uprising. So wait, they're afraid of it happening, but there's actually no evidence? Just when many believe the government actually hates Canadians, the government is worried Canadians may hate the government. Well, don't they have a right to hate the government right now? Either way, a new secret report indicates the federal government may be terrified of its own citizens. And it should be. Did you mean to say the Japanese? Not once in her statement did she not tell him to stop once in her statement. Yeah. No, it's true. It's very true. She didn't say to stop once. So that's another thing. So let's see here. Could things get so bad economically that Canadians revolt? Yes! A clandestine RCMP study says it's possible. The coming period of recession could accelerate the decline of living standards that the younger generation have already witnessed compared to our earlier generations, states the Whole of Government 5-Year Trends report, written by 3 RCMP officers from law enforcement and government leaders. Polyev called... Prime Minister Justin Trudeau may have survived Thursday's vote of non-confidence with the vote of 210 to 116. Oof. See, okay, that's the problem. See, they didn't get the bloc on board. They didn't get the bloc on board. That's why it was like that. But will he be able to fend off an angry public tired of financial despair? It seems the Mounties who protect him are concerned. And they should be. They absolutely should be. Well, there we go. The Mounties have every reason to be concerned about what's going on now. People are not going to put up with this for much longer. This is getting ridiculous. The past 7 years have seen marked... Sorry. Stupid ads. The past 7 years have seen marked social and political polarization in the Western world, says the largely redacted secret RCMP report unearthed in a blockbuster exclusive story in the National Post by star reporter Tristan Hopper Thursday. under the banner of paranoid populism, is concerned that capitalizing on the rise of political polarization and conspiracy theories have been populists willing to tailor their messages to extremist movements. Oh, sure. Yeah, it's that. It's the extremist movements. It's not that people are legitimately getting tired of having everything cost more than it needs to. No. It's just having their messages tailored to extremist movements. In other words, in a climate where young people may never own a home or car, the government is being told they should fear its citizens' response. Is this a bad dream? Conservative leader Pierre Poilievre posted to X just hours before his motion of non-confidence, trying to force a carbon tax election. The conservative leader made the point that after 8 years of Trudeau, the National Police Force warns Canadians are so broke they might revolt. Enough. Sign here to push non-confidence and fire Trudeau. The report also said the acrimony toward the government is a result of conspiracy theories, misinformation, and paranoia. What conspiracy theories, misinformation, and paranoia? We don't need any of those things. We have enough real bullshit going on right now. We don't need conspiracy theories, misinformation, and paranoia at all. That's what you freaking produce, liberals. Should the RCMP be concerned Canadians make revolt against the Trudeau government? Yes or no, said the poll. Should I vote? If I vote, will I get put on a list? Let's view the results. I want to see. 73%. 73% say yes. 2,549 votes no. 26%. 911 votes. Wow. That's crazy. That is crazy. That's nuts. A government should always have fear of its people. Yup. But for the RCMP to be like, no, it's all conspiracy theories and misinformation and paranoia. What? Seriously? You guys really think that? Okay. Sure, whatever. I can't believe that. I can't believe they actually think that we believe that we will actually fall for that shit. Holy crap. That's crazy. Okay. Let's take a look at yesterday's question period. Now, why did this go to the copyright thing? That's not what I wanted. I wanted this. There. So this is going to show us a little bit of the debate before question period started, and I'm going to let that play because there are a few really silly things that the liberals say that I want you guys to hear, and then it's going to go into the question period. So this first chunk of this is part of the non-confidence debate, but I wanted you guys to hear it. So this is going to start with an MP from Lethbridge, Alberta. She's a conservative. And then we're going to get some old liberal biddy to respond to her.
Single climate target that has been set. In fact, when you look at the performance index, they've fallen to 62 Number 62 in performance. In other words, there is nothing being accomplished for the planet, but there is everything being done to punish Canadians.
Yeah, we're 62nd now for our climate change performance. But we're spending an awful lot of money.
This government would also like Canadians to believe that somehow they're better off with the carbon tax because it results in a supposed rebate. Well, let's look at that rebate. The Parliamentary Budget Officer, who functions as an independent entity, looked at it and performed and gave a report. And the report by the Parliamentary Budget Officer shows that actually people pay far more in the tax than they would ever get back.
Yep.
In the province of Alberta, residents are worse off by nearly $1,000 a month.
Like, Pinkala was reading me grocery prices. They're already starting to reflect that shrinkflation bullshit. And I can't even imagine what they're gonna look like on April 1st.
Sorry, $1,000 a year. That's a lot of money for Canadians to lose out on. That's a lot of money for Albertans. You see, the Prime Minister reaches into the left pocket of Canadians and he takes out a wad of cash, and then into the right pocket, he deposits a few coins. And then he expects Canadians to praise him for his charity.
And be so grateful.
That's how this Liberal government functions. That's their policy. It's wrong. In my riding, I'm watching businesses close their doors because the costs are too much. I'm watching, there's a man in his 70s who lives in a vehicle with his dog because he can't afford his rent.
Jesus Christ. And he's probably worked his entire life and paid into the CPP.
A couple that lost their house because they couldn't afford their mortgage and now they're living in an RV. A person with a disability who came into my office recently who is having to skip out on meals because her little bit of money that she gets per month as a person with a disability doesn't stretch the distance it once did.
Nope.
All of this has to do with this government's failed policies, and the carbon tax is at the center of it all. 70% of Canadians and 70% of premiers do not want the tax hike. 70%. Overwhelmingly, Canadians reject this government's policies.
Yes, but this government doesn't seem to care that Canadians reject their policies. That's the shitty part. That's what we need to find a way to get through the chinks. Is we need to get the party that seems to care about what's going on into power.
They do not want it. And so today, Conservatives are standing on the side of hardworking Canadians, and we are calling for a vote of non-confidence in this Liberal government so that Canadians can vote in a carbon tax election. They will have the opportunity to say what they want. They will have an opportunity to vote for the Canada that they believe should be. They will have an opportunity to defend their own well-being. That is what we are calling for in this place. We are calling for the restoration of affordability. We are calling for a vibrant future for hardworking Canadians because they deserve it. No more.
What is wrong with any of what is being said right now?
But rather a vibrant future for the hardworking, innovative, creative Canadians that we know them to be.
Seriously, what is so right-wing extremist about what's being said right now?
Consider the well-being of every single Canadian from coast to coast, and to spike the hike, act the tax, and give back hope to those who live here in this country.
Questions and comments? Questions et commentaires. The honourable member for Saanich Schofields.
Thank you, Madam Speaker.
And here's the old Liberal biddy.
To my honourable friend from Lethbridge, I want to set aside the comments on
my honourable friend
in this place, carbon pricing, proper solutions to the climate crisis, and ask her if she doesn't agree that the well-being of every single Canadian, as she exhorted in her speech, includes that we face the fact that there's a very worrying fuel load across the country in our forests, that the forest fires of summer 2023 continued to burn underground and under the snow and are called zombie fires. Zombie fires!
Ah! Yeah, Oh, you mean the forest fires that were actually a result of arson? That we've actually like been convicting the people. We convicted somebody of arson for setting all those things. You mean those fires? That's Elizabeth May? Oh God, she sounds terrible. Elizabeth May sounds horrible now. Oh my God. She sounds like she's withered up and dried out like an old husk.
That the oceans have hit temperature increases we've never seen before. And I ask her if she's also committed to finding climate solutions that work.
The Honourable Member for Lethbridge.
The Liberals and I suppose the Green member as well, along with the NDP members, they like to tout this line that somehow the carbon tax is saving the planet. We just don't have any evidence to that. None. Zero. I haven't.
Yeah, because money doesn't solve this shit.
It shows that Canada is performing at number 62. Further to that, the stats show that Canada hasn't met a single one of its carbon targets. Not a single one. So instead, we just have a tax that is punitive in nature, a tax that goes after Canadians for just buying groceries, heating their homes, driving their vehicles. These are daily necessities in Canadian life.
Yeah.
Shame on those members for punishing.
We don't have, like, not everywhere in Canada has public transit because it's not feasible everywhere or necessary everywhere. Like, so what are you going to do? Punish everybody for driving everywhere?
Questions et commentaires, l'honorable député de Saint-Hyacinthe-Bagot.
I don't know, member for Saint-Hyacinthe-Bagot. There's inflation, there's gas prices, there's so in addition to the price on carbon, there's also the price at the pump.
This guy took over for the female translator that was translating on CPAC, and she was doing so badly she couldn't keep up. This guy is not much better.
To the oil companies that are making record profits. And it's a double gift to taxpayers.
Ironically, Mars has reached temperatures in which we've never seen before. Yeah, it's almost like our sun is halfway through its life cycle, and as it goes and gets older, it gets fucking hotter. It's almost like that. I don't know. Do people not understand that Earth has only about 1 billion years left of habitability before the sun gets too fucking hot? And we will no longer be in the Goldilocks zone for our sun because of its life cycle and the amount of hydrogen it's gone through? Do people not know that? Do people not understand? Like, this is what happens when you have a sun that is a big ball of gas that is fusing together.
In subsidies to the oil patch, would my colleague agree that we stop sending taxpayer money to the oil patch?
No.
Member.
Again, the issue at hand here today is this government and the imposition of a carbon tax. On April 1st, it is going up by 23%. There is zero proof to show that the carbon tax is somehow saving the planet. There is zero proof that any carbon emission targets are being met. In fact, to the contrary, there's proof to show that none of them have been. Furthermore, I have a Climate Change Performance Index from 2024 right here in front of me, and it shows that Canada ranks number 62. The carbon tax isn't working, but you know what it is doing? It's punishing Canadians who are working hard, who are heating their homes, who are driving to work, and who are just trying to make ends meet.
Yep.
Shame on this government.
That's right.
Questions and comments? The Honourable Member for Regina Newark.
Thank you very much, Madam Speaker, and I appreciate the speech just delivered by my colleague from Lethbridge. The one question I would ask of her is, do Liberals not understand that the rebate, they're bending over backwards trying to explain the rebate they're giving to Canadians is Canadians' money already. They would not have to give a rebate back to all Canadians.
They keep burning money, maybe they're trying to pay the sun. Maybe.
They wouldn't take the money in the first place. I do not understand how Liberals and their NDP stooges don't understand that.
Yes, that is the only thing that is produced by the only field. Not tires. Not plastic. None of the lubricants they need. No, none of that. Nope. No, nothing. No, it's just the big bad fuel that comes from oil fields, honey. It's none of the things you just mentioned. It's only that nasty fuel that burns carbon dioxide.
If they wouldn't take the money out of the Canadians' pockets, they wouldn't have to bend over backwards with this rebate. And it is not revenue neutral, as the parliamentary budget officer has said. They're keeping $2 billion of the carbon taxes they're collecting and using it on their pet projects. Why can't they just let Canadians keep the money they earned in the first place?
For Lethbridge.
My colleague brings up a really good point. The government claims that they're somehow doing Canadians a favor. Again, by taking a whole lot of their cash and then giving a few pennies back. And then somehow the Liberals come to this conclusion that therefore the carbon tax is a good thing and Canadians want it. Well, in fact, actually 70% of Canadians say no, they don't. 70% of premiers say no, they don't. They don't want it.
No. Nobody wants
In
it.
the
Like,
province of Alberta, the folks in my area are $1,000 a year worse off because of the carbon tax. So while they might get a small pittance back, it is nothing in comparison to the amount that they are having to cede over to this government. So this whole false claim that somehow Liberals are benefiting Canadians is absolutely wrong, and they should be ashamed of themselves.
they should be, but they won't be. They should be ashamed of stealing from Canadians and lying to Canadians, but you know what? They're not gonna be.
Resuming debate, the Honourable Member for Lac Saint Louis.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. You know, it is true that inflation poses a challenge to Canadians. Food inflation poses a challenge to Canadians. But study after study, rigorous analysis after rigorous analysis by competent economists has shown that the contribution of the price on carbon pollution to food inflation is negligible.
I'm sorry, excuse me? Run that by me again.
Carbon pollution to food inflation is negligible. One figure that I read was that it contributes 0.15% to food inflation, that is to the increase in the price of food.
What, Dad, where did you find that figure? And also, how can you say that the carbon tax is negligible to affect food inflation when food is delivered by fucking trucks that have to pay the carbon tax? When food is grown and produced by farmers that have to pay the carbon tax? When food is ordered by grocery stores that have to pay the shipping costs that include the carbon tax. Holy crap.
In fact, an interesting point was brought up at Environment Committee the other day by the Parliamentary Secretary to the Minister of Environment, the member from Milton, when he said that many food bank operators are quite worried about what would happen if the price on carbon were repealed, because the impact would be such that those who come to the food banks would lose the Canada carbon rebate. So
Wait, are you telling me that if you repeal the carbon tax and the people that go to the food banks would lose the rebate, then the food bank operators are scared? Nobody's buying food from the food banks. Why would you need the food? What does that make sense? If they don't get the rebate back, that means they're not having to pay the tax, which means they're not having to use the food bank because they've got more money in their pocket. And why does the food bank care whether they've got the rebate or not? Nobody pays for food at the food bank. That's why it's called a food bank. I love how these people are trying to argue for this thing, and you can hear them stumble over their words and stop and start over and over again. It's like their brain actually knows that this is backwards, but they're fighting with their brain at the same time to just... Yeah, because you know when a trucking company increases their delivery 10 cents a mile to 25 cents a mile, that's not going to make a difference to the customer. Oh, no.
The problem is, people don't understand you don't pay the carbon tax, so I don't write a check that says carbon tax you pay through your gas tank through your home heating bill. But, add reaction.
Yeah, the people don't understand you don't pay a carbon tax. You don't write a check that says carbon tax. You pay it through your gas tank and your home heating bill. Yes. It's not like when you pay your taxes every year that you have like a section that says carbon tax. No. It's paid when you fill your gas tank. It's paid when you pay your natural gas bill for your heat and your AC if you have it.
So they're quite worried, and I haven't heard of any food bank operator, quite frankly, calling for the repeal of the price on carbon. Now,
have you been listening?
Inflation. Something called the war in Ukraine. The war in Ukraine caused international energy prices to spike. It caused grain prices to spike because, Madam Speaker, do you know what Ukraine is called? It's called the breadbasket of Europe.
Yes, for Europe. Do you know how much grain we get from the Ukraine? Let's look it up. Let's go on a quick tangent. Let's see. Let's see. Canada imports from Ukraine of cereals. Okay. Buckwheat. Buckwheat. Militant canary seed, 106,000 for 2023. Wheat and mesclun, zero. So $106,000 for the year of 2023. $0 of wheat and mesclun for 2023. Rice, $456 for the year of 2022. So, like, literally, we import nothing. We literally import nothing from the Ukraine in terms of wheat or...
Except we noticed this says 3 stars happening long before Russia walked into Ukraine last year.
Except we noticed this shit long before Russia walked into the Ukraine last year. Yeah.
How can you tell that this liberal starhead has never even looked at a food bank?
Yeah, exactly.
The problem is
This is bullshit. It's the war on Ukraine. Fuck. Gee, how can you tell this liberal asshat has never looked at a food bank, motherfucker? Thinks it's an actual bank. Yeah. Yeah, he actually thought that food bank operators would give a fuck how much money
And the war has constrained its supply of grain, putting upward pressure on food prices. Now, why do the conservatives...
No, it hasn't. Not for Canada.
I'll tell you why, Madam Speaker. They're very sheepish when it comes to Ukraine because they're ashamed.
No, they're not. They're not ashamed that they don't want to send money to a war that we're not involved in. That's not something to be ashamed of.
They're ashamed that they didn't support the Canada-Ukraine Free Trade Act. An act that would permit Ukraine to enter into the European Union, Mr. Speaker. The economic union. Now, what the Conservatives also.
The honourable member. I have a point of order from the honourable member for Dufferin-Caledon.
The statement is patently false. You cannot use a free trade agreement with Canada to enter the European Union. Those two things.
I think that's debate, and I'll let the honourable member continue.
Let me rephrase that. The Conservatives voted against the free trade agreement because it mentioned that Canada and Ukraine would work together to promote carbon pricing around the world. Ukraine has a carbon price. It needs a carbon price to get into the European Economic Union. I should have phrased that better, Madam Speaker.
But that doesn't matter. We don't need to be helping any country join any other unions. That's not on our heads. If the Ukraine wants to join the European Economic Union, then they can do all the shit they need to do that. Why do we need to be involved in that shit? That's not necessary.
And in fact, our own country needs a carbon price to trade
it does not.
Internationally into the future, because there's something called carbon border adjustments. And Europe is in the process of implementing carbon border adjustments. And I'm sharing my time with the member for Elmwood Transcona. Carbon border price adjustments are adjustments that are put on the imports of goods coming from countries that don't price carbon. So that means that if Canada would not have an output-based carbon pricing system, for example, like it exists in Alberta, Canadian companies would be penalized when they try and trade with the European Economic Union.
So then they can pay those penalties per company. Why do we have to tax the shit out of our own people?
So by talking about removing output-based pricing, by talking about removing the price on carbon, the Conservatives really are talking about penalizing Canadian companies in international markets as carbon border pricing adjustments start to take effect. So I think Canadians should understand that what the Conservatives are proposing will hurt the Canadian economy in the long run. Thank you, Madam Speaker.
The member will have, if he wishes, 6 minutes to resume his speech after oral questions. Statements by members. Déclaration des députés.
Okay, we're gonna skip this. We're gonna skip this and we're gonna go to question period. We don't need the statements and declarations, because all of those are stupid. Just window dressing.
I hope this House will recognize the importance of the bill.
And $11 per too late and are fearful of the pending carbon tax hikes.
Where is
of racial discrimination? Globe.
Mention than life. Visit.
Understands 50% of Canada's premier million.
Sorry, I'm just trying. There we go. Here we are. Questions orales. Oral questions. Okay. Here we go. Get ready for the craziness.
Oral questions. The honorable member from Regina Capel.
Oh, Poilievre's not there. Shit, we're gonna have, who is that?
and reaction.
It's not sheer. Is it sheer?
After 8 years, it's clear this NDP
think it's Andrew Scheer.
is not worth the cost. And it's not just grocery prices that have skyrocketed in the last year. It's Jamaican vacations, Mr. Speaker. The tab for the Prime Minister's trip this year came in at over $230,000.
Fuck off!
Of 42%. And of course, while Canadians have to pay higher prices themselves, he gets to pass his bill on to taxpayers. And now they have to pay the bill for his high carbon hypocrisy and the 23% tax hike that is coming. He's refused to cancel the hike. Will he at least let Canadians decide for themselves and call a carbon tax election?
No.
Before we continue, just for the very top end of question period, I'm going to ask a member from Timmins James Bay to please keep his comments to himself until the moment that he has the floor.
Oh.
Minister for Innovation.
Mr. Speaker, the leader of the Conservative
Oh, there's Clocksworth Lumiere.
the chief inaction
Clumiere.
Mr. Speaker. What he's advocating on this side of the House is inaction on climate change. It's an action on clean growth. It's an action on green jobs, Mr. Speaker. On this side of the House and millions of Canadians, we believe in action. Action against climate change. Actions to build the economy of tomorrow. Actions to build the jobs of tomorrow, Mr. Speaker. We're going to fight climate change and make sure that we bring more money in the pocket of Canadians. That's our plan.
Yes, yell more. That will help.
Be very careful about ascribing acronyms or names to other honourable members. The honourable member from Regina Capel.
Action they've taken is forcing Canadians to food banks for the first time in their lives. It's forcing Canadians to turn down thermostats and put food back on the shelf because they can't afford it. Meanwhile, their environment plan has been revealed to just be a tax plan because they've fallen 4 spots in the climate change ranking after raising the carbon tax, and their own environment commissioner has said they've stacked failure on top of failure. But they have succeeded in driving up prices. Will they do the right thing and let Canadians decide for themselves and call a carbon tax election?
No.
The Honourable Minister for Rural Economic Development.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, our carbon rebate puts more money in the hands of 8 out of 10 Canadians. And just
Why do you keep saying that? It's not true. Why do you guys keep saying that shit?
All his invoices since January the 1st. And he was delighted to tell me that even with adding a little extra because he might have known the impact on this morning orange, that he is ahead $68 every single climate action rebate check. Thank you.
Oh boy! A whole $68! Yay! $68! Woohoo!
The Honourable Member from Regina Capel.
That is just false. Their own budget watchdog, the parliamentary budget officer that they appointed, testified at committee and said the following. Once you factor in the rebate, but also the economic impacts, the majority of households will see a negative impact as a result of the carbon tax. In Newfoundland, hardworking middle-income families will be $377 poorer after the carbon tax and the rebate is factored in. So, will they show the courage and put their plan to quadruple the tax in front of Canadians, and Canadians can have the choice between that and our plan to axe the tax?
No, they won't. Because they're scared.
Minister for Rural Economic Development.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, and I love to get up to talk about my province of Newfoundland and Labrador and how the carbon rebate is putting more money back into the pockets. With the rural top-up, Mr. Speaker, in April 15th, the average family of 4 in my riding all throughout Newfoundland and Labrador outside of St. John's will be getting $1,430 a year to offset prices.
Oh boy! To offset prices, huh? And what's the handout that's supposed to come out today then?
We've got another benefit. Another lady in my riding, Katie, applied for the oil to heat pump program, which is going to save her $800 a year as well. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
L'honorable député de Mégantic.
The Honourable Member from Mégantic-L'Érable.
Hey, it's Pep again.
He is as Prime Minister is simply not worth the support he receives from the Bloc Québécois. How can the Bloc Québécois support a Prime Minister who has doubled our national debt? How can the Bloc Québécois support a Prime Minister who has doubled the cost of housing for Quebecers? How can the Bloc Québécois support a Prime Minister who has forced hundreds of thousands of Quebecers to food banks?
That's a very good question.
What did he promise to the Bloc to save his career and his government?
That's a very good question.
The Honourable Minister for Innovation. Mr. Speaker, for the thousands of Canadians who are watching us today on TV, it's clear. You hear the party of inaction on the other side, Mr. Speaker.
The party of inaction, huh?
To counter climate change.
Sure. It's only the Conservatives that have actually been trying to get shit done, and you guys keep proroguing Parliament. That's fine though. You keep saying that.
Against climate change.
You keep saying that.
The jobs of tomorrow, and they want economic growth.
The jobs of tomorrow.
That's what we will do for our country, Mr. Speaker. The Honourable Member from Mégantic-Lérable. The millions of Quebecers who are watching us would have liked to have heard an answer to my question. The question Bloc MPs need to ask themselves today is this: will they set aside their ideological bickering for once and vote for the Quebecers they allegedly represent?
Yes!
The Prime Minister has broken our immigration system, who has increased taxes, who allows dangerous criminals to serve their prison sentences at home. A Prime Minister who
none of this is a lie.
Every single area of Quebec's jurisdiction. So I'll ask my question again. What did the Prime Minister promise the Bloc to
all
save
of
his
this
career
is true.
and his government? The Honourable Minister for the Environment and Climate Change. Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I would like to remind my honourable colleague that during the last election campaign, the Conservative Party of Canada promised Canadians that they would implement a carbon tax.
Yeah, because Erin O'Toole was in charge, and Erin O'Toole was a weak-willed piece of human weakness.
That they would implement a price on pollution system. Not only that, through you, Mr. Speaker, I would like to remind the Honourable Member that he just has to look behind him, who was a minister in the Quebec government who actually adopted such a measure and who fought against climate change. Just ask her what she thinks about it. The Honourable Member for La Prairie. Mr. Speaker, we're barely a third of the way through the session, and already the Liberals are breaking records and refusing Quebec's legitimate demands. No to the right to opt out of drug insurance, no to the right to opt out of dental care, no to advanced requests for medical assistance in dying, no to full powers in immigration, no to the $1 billion refund for asylum seekers, no to Bill 21. It's like a competition. They're seeing how often they can say no. But they're going to take a plunge when the time comes to claim their prize. Do they realize that Quebecers aren't going to let themselves be disrespected like this?
No, I wanted to know what the announcement was supposed to be. I didn't expect money to come in. I just wanted to know what announcement they were announcing today.
Mr. Speaker, we've said yes.
Because they were supposed to be announcing something today. And I
yes for dental care. Yes
wasn't sure what it was.
Mr. Speaker, we've said yes. They need to learn what yes means. They want yeses. But they've become the best partisans of no. No to collaboration, no to discussion, no to a good agreement. They don't like
a good agreement. You mean an agreement that benefits only you?
Things are bad for the Bloc Québécois. The Honourable Member for La Prairie. All their no's add up to a list that's already so long that you could unroll it all the way to the North Shore.
God damn!
No to the transfer of infrastructure.
This is insane. Listen to this infighting, and yet the Bloc still voted with them.
No, Mrs.
Holy shit!
Who sang and listen to this? When a strong wind
this is insane.
You better buckle up. Maybe they don't realize it. Do they not realize that by being told no, Quebecers will soon be saying we?
Oh, look at all the cheering!
The Honourable Minister for Transport. Mr. Speaker, our we and yes includes the Gaspé, the Eastern Townships, the Mauricie, Montreal, South Shore, North Shore. Our we, our yes is for everyone. We work.
Are you sure?
As well. The federal government is working with Quebec for healthcare, for dental care, for our seniors, for our families, for our children, for the environment, Mr. Speaker. When things are good for Quebec, things are bad for the Bloc Québécois.
Oh, fuck! When things are good for Quebec, things are bad for the Bloc Québécois? Wow! That's quite a pronouncement from the Minister of Transport. That's,
The Honourable Member for New Westminster Burnaby. Let's talk about real facts. The people in Montreal see horrible increases in rent, the highest in 30 years.
crime, rent,
Families simply cannot find an affordable roof over their
mortgages.
heads. I would just like to ask members to relax so that the Speaker can hear the question.
Yeah, relax. Relax, guy.
At the very far end of the House of Commons, I would like to ask the member for New Westminster Burnaby to start from the top. Montrealers have seen horrible rent increases, the highest in 30 years. Families simply cannot find an affordable roof over their heads. With the Liberals, rents have doubled.
Rents,
New
mortgage,
housing units,
everything.
11 affordable ones have been lost. The Conservatives have lost 800,000 affordable housing units per housing unit built. So the crisis is because of the two of them.
Oh, this
The
is an
government tries to protect
NDP.
them so that rent can remain affordable. The Liberals have to listen.
This is
It
an
has to be in the budget.
NDP
Will they place this in the budget,
member.
Mr. Speaker? The Honourable Minister for Economic Development in Quebec. I would like to thank my colleague for his question, Mr. Speaker. He knows full well, as I do, that our government
He
has
knows
done more
full
for
well.
housing than any government before it. We've
Oh,
invested
any
in
government
cooperatives.
before it.
We've invested.
You've
in
done
cooperative
more for
units
housing
in
than
Montreal and
any
the Greater
government
Montreal area.
before yours in the history of Canada? That's a pretty bold statement.
Like we've done with Quebec. Elsewhere, we've just announced $1.9 billion for housing, for affordable housing throughout Quebec. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
The honourable member from Vancouver East.
Oh, another
Finding rent in
MDP.
Vancouver is now over $3,000. Finding a place in BC is a full-time job for renters as greedy landlords evict tenants to hike rent even higher. The Liberal government continues to let corporate landlords and greedy housing profiteers off the hook. Meanwhile, the Conservative leader would rather let his real estate executive buddies and developer friends maximize profits off the backs of Canadians. The NDP
Yeah, that's what he's doing.
renters by keeping affordable homes available. Will
How?
the Liberals include this measure in budget 2020?
How do you plan on keeping affordable homes available? You're just saying shit.
Honourable Minister for the Development of Regional Areas of Quebec.
My colleague for a question, and as she knows, before being a minister, I was PS for housing. I've worked with her on many issues of the house.
First of all, everyone's ignoring what we heard yesterday, which was the Liberals basically threatening all the opposition. Yeah,
And I know that she, like me, want to make sure that every Canadian.
they threatened everything, so that's basically probably why the Bloc voted the way they did.
Working on homelessness to make sure that people have a roof over their heads, and we'll continue to make every day worthwhile for Canadians to have a home. Here.
The honourable member from Thornhill.
After 8
Oh, I
years
like
of this
her.
Liberal NDP government, Canadians know that this Prime Minister
I like her a
and
lot.
his carbon tax are not worth the cost. The average Ontario family pays $1,674 every year in Liberal carbon taxes. They get back $1,047. I know that it's very difficult for them to understand. $1,674 is bigger than $1,047. And the tax goes up by 23% on April 1st. So if he won't spike the hike or axe the tax, then why won't he let the people decide and call a carbon tax election?
Because he's terrified.
Minister for Natural Resources and Energy.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. The Conservatives need to stop spreading falsehoods. The PBO is
What falsehoods?
10 Canadian families get more money back. It is true now.
The PBO didn't say anything. The PBO said they'd be losing money, dumbass. You guys say 8 of 10 Canadians get money back.
While his climate plan is essentially to let the planet burn, the Conservatives
Oh yeah,
essentially have a policy
that's totally what his climate plan is. Let the planet burn.
I'd like to remind all members, of course, to comments through the chair. The honourable member from Thornhill.
Just because the minister repeats something over and over again, it doesn't make it true. That liberal math might make sense in fantasy land. But the math the Canadians are doing is painfully real as they try to put food on their table.
Yeah.
And those liberals have the audacity to believe that Canadians want to pay more in taxes, not less. The Conservatives are giving this government the chance to test that audacity and call a carbon tax election. If the Liberal government believes that everyone loves the carbon tax, then why won't they agree to go to the polls? What are they scared of?
They're scared of losing. That's what they're scared of.
The Honourable Minister for Natural Resources.
Once again, Mr. Speaker, I would say the Conservatives need to stop spouting falsehoods.
But, okay, again, they're not. I love how there's like, you need to stop lying. You need to stop lying. No, nobody's lying about what they're saying except for the Liberals and the NDP.
2 Canadians in Ontario is $255 a year. In Manitoba, $365 a year.
The net benefit.
$3 a year. In Saskatchewan, $349 a year. What these folks are going to do is make poor people poorer, and they are going to essentially sacrifice the future of our children going forward.
Sacrifice the future of us. See, again, don't you love children? Why do you hate children so much? Don't you want to save the planet for our children by sending all this money to us? Yeah, if you pay us more money, we'll save your children.
The honourable member from Lakeland.
But no matter what the minister yells and flails about, it's clear that the NDP Liberals are not worth the cost because after 8 years, Canadians
yells
can
and
afford to
flails.
eat, heat, and house themselves. Near Lakeland, the Cold Lake Food Bank said last year was their busiest ever. Quote, we gave out over 6,000 hampers throughout the year.
Holy shit.
So far this year hasn't slowed down. 6,000, by the way, is 40% of the town's population. And 1 million more Canadians will be forced to go to food banks.
6,000 is 40% of that town's population. 40% of a single town had to use the food bank. That is crazy.
This year over last, but this Prime Minister, he plans to quadruple his carbon tax anyway. So when will the Prime Minister cancel his April cruel day, spike the hike and axe the tax?
The Honourable Minister.
Mr. Speaker, I will share with you what is cruel. What's cruel is that the Conservatives would cut the carbon rebate, which, Mr. Speaker, is a
That's not cruel. That's awesome. Let them cut it. Let them cut the tax, please.
$700 more in the pockets of Albertans. What do Conservatives want to do? Cut. What will we do as Liberals? We will defend.
Hello.
The planet. We will make sure there are good jobs, and we'll make sure that
Hey, Cannibalistic Wizard.
and all Canadians.
Scream louder. I'm sure that will help.
Except the Liberal schemes and spin jobs can't cover up the cruel fact that the cost of everything is up, and so are emissions, because the carbon tax is a cash grab and not an environmental plan. But the parliamentary budget officer, he tells the truth. Unlike them, like most Canadians, Albertans will pay almost $1,000 more this year than they get back in
Jesus.
rebates. So today, Conservatives will vote non-confidence in the costly coalition to axe the tax, build the homes, fix the budget, and stop the crime. But will this Prime Minister finally listen to the majority of Canadians and premiers, spike the hike today, or call carbon tax election so Canadians can decide and axe it themselves?
Nope. And we're going to take a quick break in the applause right here because I need to quickly go to the bathroom. So I'm going to hit the be right back scene. And we're going to pop over to the mute button and I will throw on some music and I'll be right back. Okay, we're back. So, yeah, the confidence vote was done in a day. No, the MPs that have like conservative constituents, but the MPs are liberal, they were gonna vote anyway. It was kind of a nothing. It was nothing burger, and it was annoying. And it always makes people lose faith in the system because no confidence votes rarely work. Unlike they really have to fuck up their coalition for no confidence votes to work. So it was kind of shitty, but Polyev didn't really have much of a choice.
The Honourable Minister.
Mr. Speaker, once again, page 6 of the PBO report indicates that at the end of the year, Albertans are $700 better off thanks to a very real Canada carbon rebate. Mr. Speaker, in my riding of Edmonton Centre, well over 69% of residents want this government to fight climate change. We couldn't breathe the smoke in the air on September long weekend or May long weekend. These guys want to let the planet burn. We're going to defend.
These guys want to let the planet burn. Oh, we couldn't breathe the air. Ah!
The pockets of Albertans, they can do what they want to do. We're going to defend Canadians and make sure there's a planet for our kids and our grandkids.
What do the Conservatives want to do? Question mark. Stop having us give money for useless crap. This is cool. What does the Liberals want to do? Give my money to someone else? No. But
What do the Conservatives want to do? Stop having us give money for useless stuff. Cool. What do the Liberals want to do? Give them money to someone else? No.
Order. Order. The Honourable Member from Dufferin-Caledon.
This is how desperate and pathetic this Liberal government is, and the ministers that repeat these talking points, they quote a 2-year-old PBO report. 2 years.
Oh my God! It's 2 years. The report they're quoting from isn't even the updated one. Holy shit!
The PBO was just at committee 2 weeks ago and debunked everything they have to say because the carbon tax costs Canadians, and we know it. In Orangeville, my hometown, they are now predicting in a few years 5,000 to 6,000 residents will go to the food bank every month. In a town of 27,000 people, this is the Liberal carbon tax. Will they spike the hike, axe the tax, or call a carbon tax election?
They will do neither.
The Honourable Government House Leader.
Mr. Speaker, this member talks about 2 years ago. Let us go back approximately 2 years in time when the citizens of Dufferin-Caledon saw on their doorsteps a Conservative candidate who was there solemnly promising to put a price on pollution, a price on carbon for the people of Dufferin-Caledon and the people all across Canada. Now this member wants to take the check that's going to be arriving on April 15th with the amount of $280.
Ooh, a whole $280. That'll help people for a whole week.
The Honourable Member from Dufferin-Caledon.
Ah!
Even
Why
defend
is
what I said because he knows the report he's citing is 2 years old, it's out of date, and it's false. Now, here is Liberal math. The average person in Ontario, including Dufferin-Caledon, will pay $1,674 of carbon tax, and they will get a rebate, a fake rebate of $1,000.
A fake rebate.
Even Liberals can do the math. That costs $674. That has consequences. Yep. After 8 years of this anti-Liberal Prime Minister, he's not worth the cost. So they can spike the hike, axe the tax, and call a carbon tax election.
The Honourable Government House Leader.
Fact or simple, Mr. Speaker. The people in that member's riding and the people all across Ontario will be receiving a check for $280 on April 15th.
Oh boy!
These people want to vote against that.
Are you excited, honey? $280 on April 15th. What are you... Oh boy! Extra groceries! Extra gas money!
This member needs to check his math and vote for the people that he represents.
Hear, hear.
The Honourable Member for Salaberry-sur-Roi. If the federal government wants to say no to full immigration powers for Quebec, it will have to say yes to actually doing its job then, especially with regards to asylum seekers. Families are stuck in inhumane situations. Some spend years worrying because the federal government is simply unable to process their application and they don't know whether they will have to leave Canada. Worse still, some are unable to meet their basic needs because they have no right to work, because they don't have a permit from the federal government. So instead of fueling squabbles, when will the minister finally get down to work and do his job? The Honourable Minister for Immigration, Refugees and Citizenship. I know very well that the member across the way has closely followed the decisions we have made with regards to asylum seekers from Mexico.
Mexico?
We've...
Why did...
They don't like it when we work with Quebec.
Why did he go Mexico?
We have a lot of work to do, but we will do it with Quebec. The Honourable Member for
Oh
Saint-Jean.
shit.
Last Thursday, the Journal de Montréal reported police action in food bank queues. Food insecurity is causing chaos. Community organizations blame the explosion in the number of hungry people on the fact that asylum seekers have to wait 21 months before they can get a work permit. To quote one coordinator, they can't work for 2 years, but they still have families to feed.
I love how he was just like, we work with immigrants from Mexico. It was so weird.
Are the sole responsibility of this minister. It's his jurisdiction. So instead of just incessant talk, when is he going to actually hand out permits? The Honourable Minister for Immigration, Refugees and Citizenship. The member obviously isn't looking at the rest of Canada as well. In Toronto, we've accelerated permit grants. And that is what we did to Quebec. We would like to work with you to accelerate access to work permits. We can do more. We hear what people have to say. We can do better, of course. The Honourable Member for Berthier-Masquis-Angers.
We can do better, of course.
Quebec
Of course we
agriculture
can.
is nearing a precipice. We've been saying it for months. Environmental disasters, inflation, and high interest rates are pushing our farmers and producers towards bankruptcy. Their debt level has more than doubled since 2015. Last November, the Quebec government asked the federal government to activate the Agri-Recovery Program. 5 months later, radio silence. Still no emergency support from the federal government for farmers and producers in difficulty. Will the minister finally listen to farmers and producers' concerns, listen to Quebec, and finally activate this program?
No. No, they probably even forgot that they had that program. They were probably like, shit, they remembered? Oh no. What are we gonna do?
Agriculture and agri-food.
Oh gee, why would that be? Mr. I'd like cutbacks to my foresting industry.
My honourable colleague is well aware what it's under a BRM program and it's agri-recovery. The application has been received and it's been assessed.
Quick, somebody get this dude some geriatric support.
We are continuing to work
He
with
needs
the province
it.
of Quebec to make sure that the farmers in Quebec receive every remuneration possible. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
The Honourable Member from Foothills.
After 8 years, Canadian farmers are at their wits' end, and this Prime Minister's Liberal NDP carbon tax coalition aren't worth the cost. Instead of preparing for a new growing season, farmers are bracing themselves for another carbon tax increase on April 1st.
Yep.
The Agriculture Carbon Alliance survey...
Can you imagine? Can you imagine how much it's gonna cost farmers just to run the equipment to till the fields to get the seeds into the ground? Jesus, I don't even want to think about that.
More than $320,000 a month in carbon taxes. That's just 50 farms. There are almost 200,000 farms in Canada. And the punishment is going to get that much worse when the Prime Minister increases his carbon tax 23% on April 1st. Will the Prime Minister give farmers a voice and allow a carbon tax election?
No, because the Prime Minister believes that farmers don't have a voice.
Mr. Speaker, I appreciate my honourable colleague's question. I believe he and I both canvassed the last election indicating we were going to put a price on pollution. We did put a price on pollution. We also put in place a Canada carbon rebate, which my honourable colleague is well aware, 8 out of 10 people in the country receive more than they pay.
Look, another geriatric. Holy fuck.
An average family.
What is with all these old fucks in the House of Commons?
Why does my honourable colleague and the Conservative Party of Canada want to take $450 every quarterly out of the people's pockets?
Because if you didn't take the money out of the people's pockets to begin with, you wouldn't have to put anything back.
From Foothills. Well, I think the minister should talk to his own constituents in Prince Edward Island who are paying $1,600 a year in carbon taxes and getting about $1,000 back in the rebate, meaning it is costing islanders.
I need my hoodie again. I'm cold.
Carbon tax, and that has consequences. Higher carbon taxes are driving Canadians to food banks in unprecedented numbers. As a matter
Literally
of fact, in his
unprecedented
province,
numbers.
The corner food bank is struggling just to keep its doors open as demand for increase gone 70%. 5,500 families it's serving. Will the minister support a carbon tax election and give his islanders a voice?
The Honourable Minister for Agriculture and Agri-Food.
My constituents in Prince Edward Island are fully aware that I told them that we would put a price on pollution. And we also indicated we'd put the Canada carbon rebate in place. In fact, my constituents receive $220 every quarterly. And that
every quarterly? They receive $220 every quarterly, and they better be grateful for it, goddammit.
Money is in their pocket. What I cannot understand is why my honourable colleague wants to take
It's
that
the
money
same
out of
dude,
their pockets.
yep.
Farmers understand there's a problem with the environment. They also understand
He sounds
we have
horrible.
a program in place to address the environment. We have and will continue to do that, Mr. Speaker.
The Honourable Member for Beauce. Mr. Speaker, the Bloc Québécois is keeping the Prime Minister in power, even though he has broken our immigration
He
system,
really
raised
is.
taxes, and doubled.
The Bloc is literally the only thing that's keeping the Prime Minister in power right now, because they have more seats than the NDP. So if the Bloc and the Conservatives get together, they will be more than the NDP and the NDP and the Liberals.
What did the Prime Minister promise the Bloc Québécois in order to hold on to power?
Because the Liberals hold 138 seats. I'm pretty sure. The NDP holds 25. So 138 plus 25 is, I can do this, 163. Yay, I did math. Now, the Conservatives have 117 seats and the Bloc Québécois have 32. So that would be 149, which means that they would have 15 backbenchers that they would have to court instead of all those, instead of like 120.
Pink Callow, driving 8 moderator. So that's $420 in taxes, the button.
So that's $420 in taxes.
But if they were French, they would get 6,800 instead. Button.
But if they were French, they would get 6,800.
The Honourable Minister for the Environment and Climate Change. When it comes to promises, if I were the Conservative Party, I'd just be slightly ashamed of mentioning promises because they promised in 2021 the creation of a carbon tax
And who was in power at that point? A weak-willed, moderate
on clean fuel. What are they doing?
leader.
They've just changed their minds. They changed minds as much as they change underwear.
If you were
They
smart,
don't believe in climate change. They have no
if you were a good debater, you would have said they changed their minds as much as they changed leaders, because that has been true. They have had to change leaders several times. So if you were a smart debater, I can't believe I'm giving debate points to the fucking Liberals right now. If you were a smart debater, you would have pointed out that the Conservatives have gone through 4 leaders in 8 years. But no, you can't even debate properly.
No plan for the economy, no plan for jobs, no plans for affordability on this side of the house. We will work to fight against climate change, to fight, to create jobs, and to help Canadians.
Can you vote affirmative and vote no confidence after? No.
The honourable member from Victoria.
Mr. Speaker, you know what's unfair? Canadians are doing everything right.
No, you know what's unfair is the geriatrics that run this government are running this government and not letting people who are more in tune with what's going on step up and take over.
But still struggling to keep.
That's what's not fair.
Meanwhile, big oil and gas CEOs are raking in billions while not paying their fair share. And it's because the Liberals refuse to stand up to their friends in oil and gas, while the lobbyists in the Conservative Party fight to get rich CEOs even more handouts. A windfall tax on the richest oil and gas corporations would bring in $4.2 billion to put back into Canadians' pockets. Why won't the Liberals do it?
Because we're stuck on this idea that we're stuck on this idea that the money we're taking from Canadians is actually coming from somewhere else, and we're actually doing them a favor by giving them back less than the money that they've given us.
That's the problem with no comments, though it's literally a bullshit vote.
That's the problem with no confidence, though it's literally a bullshit vote. The problem is that Pink Hollow is right. About 99% of the time a no confidence vote will fail. It's literally like a political move to gauge the temperature of how many of your opposition will vote in favor of a no confidence motion. And it's hard.
The Honourable Minister for Natural Resources.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. It is extremely important that all sectors of the economy pay their fair share. It is extremely important that all sectors of the
pay
economy
their fair
make
share,
their contribution to the fight against climate change.
That sounds like a communist.
Working very closely with the oil and gas sector, as we are
a
with
communist idea.
To ensure very much that they do so. We need to see more progress moving forward. As I have been very clear, it is important that we see reductions in absolute emissions as we move forward, and I'm sure that we are going to see that, and we are certainly going to continue to push the sector to accomplish that.
The Honourable Member from London Fanshawe.
Military civilian workers who support our troops on Canadian military bases are still on strike. They can't get a fair deal. And why? Because the employer is allowing scab workers to replace them. This is shameful. Liberals tell workers they're for anti-scab legislation, and then they look away when scabs are brought in to prevent base workers from fighting for better wages.
That's crazy.
Both ways. Will they stand up for striking civilian military workers, or will they keep turning a blind eye to these unfair labor practices?
So I didn't know that there was a civilian strike going on at bases. Interesting.
The Honourable Minister for National Defence.
I want to thank the member for the important question. Canadian Forces Morale and Welfare Services is a trusted partner in the defence enterprise. They provide important services to our members. We've met with both parties and we are encouraging them to meet again at the bargaining table. CFMWS will continue to work with union representatives to reach agreements and to minimize impacts to CAF members. CAF members and their families are our top priority, and providing the supports that they require remains our priority. Thanks.
The Honourable Member from Waterloo.
Speaker, over the past few years, we have made considerable progress in modernizing the military justice system and advancing culture change to support victims.
Is that Bardish Chagger?
Canadian Armed Forces. There remains a lot of work to do, primarily because of the inaction of the previous Conservative government.
Oh, fuck off! You guys have been in power for 8 years now. You don't get to blame Harper's government any fucking more. You guys, I would have given you maybe until the first re-election. All right? I would have given you until the first re-election for you to be like, wow, the Harper government really fucked things up. We've got a lot to fix. It's been 8 years now. You don't get to blame Harper anymore. You don't get to blame the the previous conservative government anymore. That's ridiculous.
Per report, Justice Arbor recommends a transfer of all criminal code sexual offenses to civilian jurisdiction. This approach would be suitable to constituents within the riding of Waterloo should it be done with the resources to ensure justice for the people involved. Will the Minister of National Defence update this House on the progress we are making to advance culture change?
Minister of National Defence.
Culture change. You mean like not being mean to the lady recruits? Is that what we're saying here?
Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker. I want to thank the member for Waterloo for her question, and I couldn't agree with her more. Creating meaningful and lasting cultural change for the Canadian Armed Forces is imperative. I'm pleased to share that this morning I had the opportunity to table Bill C-66, the Military Justice Modernization Act. This legislation, Mr. Speaker, will address 9 of the recommendations from Justice Arbor and Justice Fisher's reports. They will uphold our government's commitment to building a more inclusive, respectful, and professional Canadian Armed Forces. And, Mr. Speaker, for every member of the Canadian Armed Forces, I want to advise that we have heard you. We have heard you clearly, and we will do whatever is required to provide you with a safe and inclusive workplace.
We have heard you, and we really don't give a fuck. That's why we're sending you to food banks and kind of just passing the buck off to civilian police when it comes to updating the Justice Act. Yeah, it's fine. The Military Justice Act. No, we're good. We're good. We don't really give a fuck about you, though.
The honourable member from Chilliwack Hope.
After 8 years of the NDP Liberal Prime Minister, over 200,000 British Columbians are using the food bank every month. On April Fool's Day, BC NDP Premier David Eby will raise the carbon tax on the people of BC by 23%, as his friend the Prime Minister has made him do. This BC NDP Liberal Carbon Tax Coalition will cost British Columbians billions at a time when they can least afford it. Since none of the 15 Liberal MPs
Yeah, because BC is a fucked up province. Not only do they have, like, Vancouver, places like Vancouver and Victoria have stupidly high rent, but you also, like, for your health insurance, your provincial health insurance, you have to pay monthly for your health card. So you've got your carbon tax goes up, then you've got to pay for your health card so that you can get treatments for shit. Then you've got your rent, then you've got your food. This is crazy.
Will stand up to spike the hike. Will they at least call a carbon tax election so Canadians
inclusive,
can vote
yeah.
to axe the tax?
I've talked to her a bunch of times. Her office is in Waterloo. Her office is at the city. She's a bitch.
Price on pollution. It was Gordon Campbell, a right-wing premier in BC, who actually put in place the first price on pollution. Led Canada, was a leader in the world. My goodness, it is a shame to see British Columbians like that who deny the reality of climate
British Columbians like that. Oh.
We should stop listening to the baloney factory over there.
Order, children. Calm down.
I'd like to hear the question from the member from Chilliwack Hope and the response that will be offered in answer to that. The Honourable Member.
Well, Mr. Speaker, after 15 years of that NDP Liberal plan, emissions are up and British Columbians continue to get poorer. The BC NDP budget says that $9 billion will be taken from British Columbians.
Jesus Christ.
They'll only give $3 billion back in rebates.
Where's the $6 billion going?
$6 billion. This carbon tax coalition is making the most expensive place in the country.
Where's that $6 billion going?
Groceries and home heating. So why don't they give Canadians a voice and allow us to vote to spike?
Don't forget that car insurance is also through the in BC. Car insurance is also through the province. So you've got to not only pay for your health card, you got to pay for your insurance through ICBC, I think it's called, or IBC or something like that, the Insurance Bureau of BC, then you've got, like, BC is getting flossed.
Natural resources.
Party is entitled to its opinion.
Order. I'm going to encourage members, especially the member from Kingston the Islands, please, to not have a conversation across the way. That also goes for members on this side and responding.
Ha! Stop having conversations with each other, children. This is debate, or this is question period time, children.
The Honourable Minister for Natural Resources.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. As I say,
There's no more baloney factory, you fuckers made Snyder's die. True.
Are down. Canada is growing a clean
Ukraine.
economy for the future. I was in Germany earlier this week, and the German government told me that Canada is a model for the world in the fight against climate change.
The Germans told you that Canada is a model for the world, yeah? The Germans did. Oh, good. Oh, goody. Oh, goody. When the Germans tell you something, you know it's good, yeah? Das ist gut. Das ist gut. Das ist sehr gut, yeah. The Germans, they like our climate change, yeah.
The issue that is an existential threat in the global green economy. We signed an agreement on hydrogen that is going to create jobs and economic opportunity in Atlantic Canada because we believe in climate change. We are fighting climate change, and those climate deniers on the other side of the house should be ashamed of themselves.
Fuck, Ferguson is insufferable. I miss Rhoda. I miss Rhoda too. Anthony Rhoda was great.
The Honourable Member.
Order! Oh, he actually yelled that time. What do you know?
The Honourable Member from South Shore, St. Margaret's.
These Liberals think Canadians have never had it so good, but after 8 years, the NDP Liberals, Melody from Nova Scotia, is losing hope because the 23% increase in the carbon tax that's happening on April 1st will put the cost of everything up. Melanie had to sell her dream home because Liberals forced her to choose between food, heating, and having a mortgage. To help Melody, the Liberal leader in Nova Scotia has now joined in the fight against the carbon tax. So for the sake of Melody, if the Liberals won't axe the tax, will they at least spike the hike?
That's sad that she had to actually sell her house because she couldn't pay for the house and groceries, and that's sad.
The Honourable Minister for Rural Economic Development.
Mr. Speaker, we're going to say it again, but the Canadian
I love when they try to get all big and fairly chested. It's so fucking funny.
What we haven't talked about today, Mr. Speaker, is the cost of not doing action on climate. Here. I know the member opposite, he was impacted by Hurricane Fiona. They've had fires, they've had drought, they've had floods. The conversation we all need to have in this house.
Yes, natural disasters happen. It's almost as if they happen in nature and we can't control them. Isn't that a fantastically new idea? That's why they are called natural disasters. Okay? That's why they're named that. All right? And they're gonna keep happening. So you can tax us to hell all you want, but we're still gonna have hurricanes this year. We're still gonna have flooding in a few weeks because it's spring. We're still gonna have fires in the summer because that's what happens. We're still gonna have bad weather. It's gonna happen because we live on a planet with an atmosphere and a goddamn water cycle. All right? That's just what it is.
is what happens to our kids and our grandkids if we do not take action on climate change. We have a plan. I wish the Conservatives did.
Honestly, Pink Hollow says, it may be sad, but it's a true story I'm hearing more and more of, especially with people with expensive houses at 1%. Yeah. The big expensive houses with the low rate.
Member from South Shore St. Margaret's.
That answers cold comfort for the families in my community that have increased the usage of the St. Margaret's Bay Food Bank by 30%.
Right.
Why? Because a parliamentary budget officer said that the average Nova Scotia family pays $1,500 in carbon tax and gets back $963 of their own money. That's less, since you can't add, that's $537 in more taxes and fake rebates. This Prime Minister is not worth the cost. So if the Prime Minister won't spike the hike or axe the tax, will he at least let the people decide and call a carbon tax election?
No, we don't have any choices.
Mr. Speaker, again, the Canadian carbon rebate, the Canada carbon rebate is putting more money in pockets of Nova Scotians.
Trust me, if I keep repeating it, the math will work. That's how it works, right? If you just keep repeating the wrong mathematical answer, it becomes right. That's right? That's how it works?
All factories must be shut down and rebuilt in China. Out of sight, out of mind. But
All factories must be shut down and rebuilt in China, out of sight, out of mind.
not even expensive. The ones that bought their houses at 5,000,000. When it was 1%, they were only paying what we are.
Not even the ones that are that expensive, the ones that bought their houses at 500,000 at one or at a low rate, or when it was 1%, they were paying what we pay now, and now those people are paying 3 to 4 times what we pay. Jesus Christ. That's crazy. That's insane.
And April the 4th, the average family outside of Halifax is going to get $989. You add to that what we're doing in $10 a day daycare. What we're doing.
Oh yeah, the lowering of childcare quality. Yes. Yes, you're doing fantastic work.
That is saving hundreds and hundreds of dollars every year for Canadians.
You are doing fantastic work. Yep.
I wish the Conservatives were.
The Honourable Member for Rivière-du-Nord. Mr. Speaker, a year ago, Supreme Court Justice Richard Wagner took the government to task on judicial appointments. He said the government's inertia with respect to vacancies and the absence of satisfactory explanations for the delays are disconcerting.
Think about it. My mortgage rate went down 5. Yeah, and I'm still paying $8 more a month. That's true.
Their feet. Of the 85 vacancies to be filled, 68 remain. In February, the federal court ordered the government to get on with it. Instead, we learned on Monday that the Minister of Justice is challenging that decision in court. When will the minister get serious about the justice system and appoint the necessary judges? The Honourable Minister of Justice and Attorney General of Canada. I'd like to congratulate all Canadian Ismailis who are celebrating Nubaz Mubarak today. To answer the question,
why didn't you say that in your statement?
I have been working
in your statements to the chair. Why do you have to put that in now?
74 judges to the bench. The average for the Conservative government was only 60 a year. So
wait.
For the Conservative to the already named. I have been working on this for 7 months, and I've already named 74 judges to the bench.
74 judges to the bench in 7 months. Have you vetted them?
Yes, saving hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of dollars. Meanwhile, there are literally thousands of families on the waiting list for your bullshit childcare. Button.
Yes, saving hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of dollars. Meanwhile, there are literally thousands of your families on the waiting list waiting for your bullshit childcare. Facts. Facts.
The average for the Conservative government was only 60 a year.
Okay, but were they vetting the judges properly? Because if so, that's fine. I don't want quality, or I don't want quantity over quality. I don't want, like, tons of judges on the bench if the judges are fucking stupid and don't follow the law properly.
Twice as fast as zero is still zero. The Chief Justice of the Supreme Court and the Federal Court are both telling the government that the number of vacancies is preventing the justice system from working properly. The Chief Justice said access to justice and the health of our democratic institutions are at risk. He's not just anyone, and rather than speeding up appointments, the Minister of Justice is challenging the Federal Court's decision and looking for excuses for his inaction.
Oh, shit. So he's being called out. The Chief Justice of the Supreme Court of Canada is like, dude, we need, like, federal judges here on federal courts. We need this. And this Liberal's like, nah, I am appointing judges. I'm doing it faster than the Conservatives.
Clogging up the courts with political and partisan cases is not the solution.
Nope.
We need more judges. What's the minister waiting for? More Liberal candidates?
Yeah.
The Honourable Minister of Justice and Attorney General of Canada. This is an important question, and what I like to tell...
Of course it's an important question. Answer it.
Is that when there's a committee to recommend appointments, we never put a former Liberal on that advisory committee, which is not the case for the previous government. So we have taken steps to avoid partisanship, to appoint high-quality, diverse candidates, bilingual candidates, which is necessary.
No, have you not seen the crime rates?
Not just in Quebec, but all across Canada. Thank you. The Honourable Member for Paul-Neuf-Jacques-Cartier. Thank you, Mr. Speaker. My colleague from Beauce didn't get an answer, so I'll try again. The Bloc is propping up this Prime Minister, even though he has broken our immigration system, raised taxes.
We've got some pissed off French Conservatives here. Holy shit.
Our national debt.
They are mad at the Bloc right
now.
now.
It's going to cost even more on April
I wonder
1st,
what question period today is going to look like.
The government is going to raise taxes by 23%. It's not on.
Question period after today, or after yesterday's vote.
Promised the Bloc to keep his government in power. The Honourable Minister of Innovation. Mr. Speaker, Quebecers watching at home don't understand. This isn't the first time they haven't understood the Conservative.
They don't understand, huh?
Doesn't apply in Quebec.
Why, are we all just stupid? You think we're all just too stupid to get it?
What Quebecers want is action on climate change, action on economic growth, action to boost green jobs. The Conservatives are voting for inaction. We are voting along with Quebecers to move Canada forward.
Sure you are.
Mr. Speaker, my colleague just said, talked about not getting it. Let's talk about not getting it. I'm going to ask again. The food banks are overwhelmed. No one has ever seen the likes of it in this country.
No, literally, there are unprecedented numbers of people going to food banks across the country. This has never been seen before since, I think, the advent of a food bank system. This is why it's so bad.
For the Bloc must be sorry. The Bloc has been supporting the Liberals and keeping them in power. I remind you, this
high quality and diverse are oxymorons.
23% tax on April 1st, and it's no
You're not wrong, honey.
Joke. A vote for the Bloc will sure cost you. Does this minority government will they reveal the secret deal they have with the Bloc Québécois?
Yeah. What is this? Somebody bring up Night of the Long Knives, please. Somebody be like, this is worse than the Night of the Long Knives for Quebec. Somebody, please. And if you guys don't know what that is, I will delve into it for you guys. But the Charlottetown and Quebec Accords are... Oh boy. They're long and arduous and... sometimes a little bit boring.
The Honourable Minister of Transport. That's not very nice for my colleague to give the that kind of spanking to the bloc. They've already got enough to deal with. The minister talked about inaction. What does inaction lead to? Forest fire. The Bloc Québécois. The Honourable Minister of Transport. That's not very nice.
That's not very nice.
To give the that kind of spanking to the bloc. They've already got enough to deal with.
Wow. This is from the Minister of Transport, by the way. This is a Minister of Transport rubbing it into the bloc.
The minister talked about inaction. What does inaction lead to? Forest fires.
Yeah.
Displaced people. And where was he when this happened in Quebec and all across Canada? They've been sitting on their hands, doing sweet nothing, while we've been getting down to work.
Sure.
I would always encourage members to be respectful.
Mr. Speaker, after 8 years of this NDP Liberal Prime Minister, food bank usage in Edson is up nearly 300%. Now on April 1st,
300%. This is from all across Canada.
For Canadians. They are on track to quadruple the carbon tax. The average family in Alberta will pay nearly $3,000 of carbon tax this year.
Because fuck Alberta, right?
Finally allow a carbon tax election so Albertans can decide to axe the tax.
The Honourable Minister.
Mr. Speaker, the Member of Parliament for Yellowhead is simply wrong. Albertans in rural
He's wrong? They're not going to pay $3,000 a year in tax?
$160 in rebate in the upcoming year. More money, $700 more, $960 more if you're in rural or remote Alberta, Mr. Speaker. I have one message for Albertans and for Canadians. Stop the Conservatives and don't let them ruin the rebate.
Really? That's your slogan? Stop the Conservatives! Don't let them ruin the rebate! Really? That's your call to action. Okay.
The Honourable Member.
Okay, so then take the action and increase the funding to the Forestry Service. Well, but see, that makes sense, though. So they won't.
In 2022, tourism supported 1.9 million jobs in Canada. No other industry has an economic impact that affects every region of the country.
No other industry besides tourism has an economic impact that affects the country, the entire country? I don't think I agree with that.
Conventions. Can the Minister of Tourism tell us how the government is seizing the opportunity of business tourism?
I mean, tourism is important, but
the Honourable Minister of Tourism.
I would say that it's not the only industry that affects every part of the country.
St. Louis, he and I and this government believe that Canada is a destination of choice for international business events. So there will be a $50 million investment in bringing more than $170 million into the Canadian economy while creating good jobs in places like Calgary, Vancouver, Toronto, and Vancouver.
Calgary, Vancouver, Toronto, and Vancouver. Holy shit! We have two Vancouvers?
Canadian economy, and I sure hope the Conservatives will support this.
Calgary, Midnapore.
After 8 years, scandal runs rampant in the Liberal NDP government.
Oh, you can't point out scandal. That's not allowed.
$5 million in fraudulent billing. To make matters worse, the billing is across 36 departments and dates back to 2018, pre-pandemic. This is only the first wave of even more fraudulent billing cases. This Prime Minister is not worth the cost. So can the Minister answer one simple question? How many millions of dollars in fraudulent billing did a Arrive scam cost Canadians?
Yeah, that would be nice to know.
Minister for Public Works.
Thank you,
Mr. Speaker, as a member said or didn't say, fraudulent billing is totally unacceptable. And that's why it was so important.
The member doesn't need to say that fraudulent billing is totally unacceptable. We all know that. Except for you and your fucking colleagues.
Proceed much more quickly and much more efficiently toward identifying and prosecuting case of fraudulent overbilling in Canada in 2024.
Hear, hear.
Hear, hear.
The honourable member for Charlebourg-Haut-Saint-Charles. Mr. Speaker, reading the newspaper on Tuesday morning, I came across some disturbing news. Apparently, the member for Brossard-Saint-Lambert, an assistant deputy speaker of the House, invited to a partisan cocktail party on February 20th the director of two organizations accused of hosting illegal Beijing-controlled police stations in Montreal and Montreal. What's worse, the Ministry of Industry was the guest of honor. Does the Prime Minister support his members defending these organizations, which are under investigation for hosting Beijing-controlled police stations? The Honourable Minister of Public Safety. Mr. Speaker, as my colleague knows full well, our government is...
Technology and manufacturing would like to have a word with you. Yeah, right?
In a very effective and strong manner.
Yeah, I'm like, I don't think tourism is the only industry that affects the country economically in a whole, but okay.
Investigation, and that is the appropriate way of addressing the issue. Obviously, we won't comment files that are currently being investigated by the police. It's important that everyone exercise some restraint in this area as well.
St. James, Senator Boya Headingley.
Sure. Iran shot down flight PS-752, killing 55 Canadians and 30 permanent residents. Yet today, 700 IRGC terrorists still operate on Canadian soil, terrorizing Persian and Jewish communities.
Good call.
After Parliament voted, 5 years after Parliament voted to ban the IRGC, the Prime Minister seems more concerned with
good call
our democratic ally Israel and rewarding Hamas terrorists than going after the IRGC in Canada. When will the Prime Minister finally stick up for Canadians and ban the IRGC?
Good call.
The Honourable Minister for Public Safety.
Mr. Speaker, we have said for many years now that Iran is one of the most important state sponsors of terrorist activity around the world.
Yeah, so get the fucking IRGC the fuck out of here.
Mr. Speaker, our government has put in place a series of very robust sanctions, used immigration legislation to bar many of these people from visiting Canada. The Security Intelligence Service, the Border Services Agency are obviously taking their responsibilities very seriously.
I'm sure they are.
Our government continues to rely on the advice from security services with respect to listing terrorist entities.
The Honourable Member from Cloverdale, Langley City.
Mr. Speaker, for far too long, Indigenous stories have been told by others, often inaccurately and insensitively. As we continue our path to reconciliation, we must ensure that Indigenous voices are empowered to share their own stories, and Indigenous cultures and languages are preserved and celebrated.
You mean like we have already, where we've had? We used to go to the Six Nations village every year in school, and we would have the different activities for different grades to do, and it was taught like the teachers. Like, our teachers didn't teach anything. They were just there to supervise and make sure we behaved. And the actual Six Nations, like Iroquois or Huron people would be teaching us. And we would, like, be in actual longhouses and, like, learn how the Indigenous people made maple syrup and learn the different games that the Indigenous children used to play. And, like this has been a thing forever. What are you talking about? Tell their own voices. Say they haven't had a chance to tell their own voices. What the fuck are you talking about?
Can the Minister of Canadian Heritage provide an update on the work of the Indigenous Screen Office and the unique role it plays in the...
What the hell is the Indigenous Screen Office? And why are we wasting money on one?
The Honourable Minister for Patrimoine Canadien.
I thank my colleague for his question and advocacy. We all have a role to play to advance reconciliation, and this includes cultural reconciliation. Since we supported its creation in 2017, the Indigenous Screen Office has played a pivotal role in revitalizing Indigenous cultures and bringing Indigenous stories to our screens. Last week, I was proud to announce that we made this funding permanent, providing it with $65 million over 5 years and $13
more money spent on
this funding will support and promote the work of
Indigenous films
to share their rich and diverse cultures and languages for years to come.
Why is it my responsibility to remember someone else's culture so it doesn't die? I
Mr. Speaker,
don't know.
There's panic amongst community-based health prevention groups who are working to limit the spread of HIV in Canada. On March 31st, the Liberals are letting funding for HIV self-testing kits run out. Self-test kits have quickly become a vital tool in limiting new infections and moving toward the eradication.
Wait, we're no longer going to be funding self-test kits for HIV? I don't think I like that.
Hoping to see the funding double rather than end. Will the minister today commit to providing the funding needed to help eliminate HIV?
The Honourable Parliamentary Secretary to the Minister of Health.
Thank you very much, Speaker. I want to thank the member.
Really, can't the Minister of Health can't answer it himself?
HIV is from our communities, and we know that a lot of work has been done to find solutions and to provide care for HIV/AIDS, and our government remains committed to supporting all those endeavors, and the best way to do it is by working with communities. We'll continue to support them. I look forward to continue working with the member so that support is always available for people.
You know how I walk really, really quietly for someone my size? It was specifically because of the Six Nations camp I learned from those people. Yeah! We were playing a game in winter, and it was like, it was fall, and it was like, it was some sort of game where you had to close your eyes and listen for somebody to come up, like, and you had to stop somebody from coming up and touching you without seeing them. Like, you had to hear them coming and stop them from touching you. And everybody was pissed off because the leader, first of all, didn't make me be blindfolded, and they made everybody else be blindfolded. And the leader's like, she's already blind, she doesn't need it. And then they were pissed off because I kept winning. And the leader's like, well, she's had practice. She's blind already. This is what she does every day. If you guys don't want to keep losing, stop walking so loudly.
Living with HIV and AIDS. Thank you.
The Honourable Member from
Golf clap.
Mr. Speaker, the so-called climate debate taking place in this place is the worst of all worlds. It's unserious and profoundly unfunny.
Unserious and unfunny. We need to be super serial, guys. We need to be super serial about this climate debate. Super serial.
It is a grotesque display of ignorance of the science and rejection of the solutions that are desperately needed. Our children and grandchildren will not forgive us for this display, but we still have a chance. Will this government commit that when
why is the cost a big thing?
We convene as a committee of the whole, bring scientific experts to this place.
Oh, why is the cross a big thing? I don't know.
Questions and focus on facts.
Wait, what did she say?
We still have a chance. Will this government commit that when we come back after Easter, we convene as a committee of the whole, bring scientific experts to this place to educate all members, take questions, and focus on facts?
Was that Elizabeth May again?
The Honourable Minister for Natural Resources.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. We on this side of the House.
Why is lacrosse a big thing? Because of Indigenous people, right?
Scientific reality of of climate change is something that is acknowledged and incorporated into all of the work that we are doing, whether it is on the environment or on the economy. It is certainly something that we share and agree on with the member from Sandwich Gulf Islands, and certainly we are interested in finding many, many ways to educate those in this House that continue to deny the reality of climate change.
Yeah, stop denying climate change. It's all humankind's fault, and it's the only thing that humans are the only root of climate change ever. Climate never changed before humans existed. Don't you know that?
Question period has now come to an end, and we turn to the regular Thursday question.
So that's question period. That was our question period for yesterday, and that was a shit show and a half. And I'm very curious as to what today's question period is going to be. They're breaking for Easter. They will not be sitting next week because of Easter. So I will be doing other topics of interest. But that was our question period for yesterday. So I hope you guys enjoy me bringing this stuff to you guys and explaining some of it, and just getting this stuff explained and covered, because there's not really many Canadian or any Canadian YouTubers doing it. So that's why I'm doing it. So thank you for watching. I plan on being back tonight for MK, and I plan on playing for longer than an hour because it's Friday. So thank you for watching. I'm going to go have lunch, and I will see you guys later on. I hope you guys have a good Friday, good rest of your day, and I will see you later tonight for gaming. Thanks for watching. See you later.